Okay, so I have it in front of me now. I will be sharing lecture 1 with you, and then subsequently all the 9 lectures we are going to try and go over one by one. Um, lecture 1. I hope you can see lecture 1 in front of you. Is it appearing? Yes. Okay. So now, in this lecture, I am going to say whichever slide I will focus on, you only have to concentrate on those. So whichever lecture slide I just go over without asking you to focus on, you can ignore that. Okay. In this lecture, I am going to focus on the definition of ethics, and similarly later the definition of morality. Okay, so these two definitions are important and not in too much detail. You just have to understand that ethics is about ethical judgment whereby an individual makes the choice of right and wrong. This is easy definition, you just have to keep in mind, and you do not have to go over all these details. You don't have to go through all these either. You can leave this, also this. You don't have to worry about the terms. Only these terms are important in terms of their definition. So what is ethical dilemma? So ethical dilemma is this, where the situation is not clear, there is no straightforward decision to be made, and there can never be one fixed judgment about ethical dilemma. That's why they are called ethical dilemmas, that you don't have any one fixed answer. Ethical judgment is that judgment where you do right and wrong. So let's say you have an ethical dilemma. As a result of that, you need to make a choice, make a decision, and that will be your ethical judgment. Okay, ethical theory is the basis for this judgment. Based on what you decided, this is your theory. And excuse me, and ethical decision making is the entire process. So the process is, 1 second, let me go. So the process is that you have an ethical problem. You judged what is right and wrong in this problem. You may be wrong, you may be right. There is no one fixed answer for ethical dilemma. And ethical theory is how you justified it. Let's say I had a problem whether um, drinking alcohol is right or wrong because it doesn't hurt me and I gain some benefit from it. Is it fine? And then I made a decision, no, it's not fine. Why did I make this decision? Based on this ethical theory that I am a Muslim and the Islamic position is mentioned in the Quran that it is not allowed. So my theory is that, and this entire process is called ethical decision making. Okay. Now, um, morality, just the definition, as I said, ethics, I told you the first page, and now Uh, let me specify slides. So slide number 3, slide number 8, slide number 9. Okay, these are from lecture 1, and now slide number 10. In this one, you just have to understand one thing, that akhlaq is a word that refers to both at the same time, ethics and morality. Ethics is like, you are talking about individual judgment about right and wrong. Morality is more about the social acceptance of something. Morality, you are talking about mujtama. It is more about the value system in the society, in the culture you are living. But at the end of the day, both akhlaq and morality, they refer to the same reality. So please keep this in mind that ethics and morality, they in the end they refer to the same reality, which is to judge what is right, what is wrong. Now when it is done individually, it is more ethics. When it is done more in a societal way, it is more morality. Okay, but akhlaq is the Islamic word that refers to both at the same time. You don't even have to say individual or societal. Both can be considered under the term akhlaq. Okay. Now you don't have to go through all these details on page one if you have understood the definition on slide number 10. Now here you don't have to worry about what Ibn Manzur says, what Abu Hamid al-Ghazali says about this particular problem, about this particular term definition. Okay. Now this is the question I've already answered, whether akhlaq, ethics or morality, which term is the more comprehensive term. So you should just understand that ethics and morality, although they talk about the same thing, there can be further division, whether which one is more focused with individual and which one is more focused on society. Right? This is ethics and morality. They are together, they are integrated, yet there is a little bit of a difference there. Akhlaq is the most comprehensive term because it combines all of them together. Fine. So uh, you don't have to focus on this one. You don't have to know what are the sources for social and moral behavior, and you also don't have to worry about this. So once again, slide number 3, slide number 8, 9, 10, 14, and that's it. This is your lecture 1. Now I'm going to be talking about lecture 2. Just give me a few moments. I will open that for you, inshallah. Alaikum salam. Ramadan Kareem. All right. I hope you can see now this lecture 2. Now, as you know, lecture 2 is quite a long lecture, and there are a lot of things to be studied in this one, but I am going to make your life easy, inshallah, once again, and I will talk about the most uh, relevant items from this lecture so that you don't have to go over everything. Now, in that case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip most of these things and I will come to the point that is important. So you can ignore all these now here from 8 and 9. So even if you just do these two, you will be fine because you have to understand some of these duty-based ethical theories, some of them. So I would say from the slide 7 to 9, or let's say to 10 to better understand. There is only one thing to understand, by the way. What is deontology? Deontology is that you do not want to know why something is right and wrong. You just know what is your duty, and whatever is your duty is supposed to be good for you. Okay, so if let's say your job is to drive, Now, if you know, if your boss says, drive me to a club, drive me to a bar. Now, although if you think about it in principle, you will say, oh, I'm going to drive somebody to a bad place. This may be a bad thing. However, for you, you are not thinking in that sense. You are saying, driving is my duty. And if I'm doing my duty, I'm right. So this is deontology. So this is important, as I said, from slide 7 to 9 or 10, just to understand. And then again, um, you can just focus on here, lecture, sorry, slide number 13 and 14. So what is it that you are going to focus on? Uh, Between the slides 13 and 14, or let's say 15 also, there is only one point being discussed. What are the problems with deontology? So the problems are many. Some of them, like even if you know one or two, you will be able to understand. First of all, you will never know what is correct, what is right in the end. If it is all about your duty, then at the end of the day, your morals, your conscience, your dhamir would like to know what is actually right. This is one problem. And um, and also, um, you can justify so many things. For instance, if somebody hires you to say that you have to lie about my product, I'm selling poison, but you have to say it is medicine. Now you will say, oh, well, I've been hired to tell lies. It is deontology, it is right for me. However, what are you doing? You are justifying something wrong in the name of duty. See? So this is one problem you can keep in mind. So between 13 and 15, this is the problem. These are the things which are mentioned, that how do we know what is right and wrong? How do we understand what is correct? Because if somebody hires me to do something wrong, I will still be doing it without asking any question. Now, all these you can ignore. I was going to give you questions from these, but now I'm not. Now, slide 20 to 21. This is one aspect, universalism. What is universalism? Is a completely different one from deontology. For instance, in deontology, you just think about what is your duty. But in universalism, you think about what is universally right and universally wrong. So you are not just thinking about your situation, your circumstances. You are concerned about whether something is internationally, globally, universally accepted as good or bad. For instance, killing. Now you're killing somebody innocent. Now you know that this is something which everybody, without any distinct, there is no society in the world that is going to say killing innocent people is a good thing. Nobody. So this is a universal fact, which is completely opposite to deontology. Fine. Now you don't have to focus on these, on even these theories. Um, if you just go over the ones I have notified you of, you will be fine. So once again, let me tell you which ones. So in this lecture, you are going to focus on the slides from 7 to 10, let's say, and then sorry, from 13 to 15. But I have already told you what is it that you will be focusing on, not every bit of detail, not the whole information. And then 20 to 21. This is your lecture 2. Now I will show you lecture 3. Just give me a second. All right. From lecture 3. Oh, it mistakenly says lecture 2. So ignore this. This is lecture 3 as per your blackboard. All right. So in lecture 3, you basically have to only focus on, I will tell you, from slide 5 till 8. So 5 till 8. Now, what is it that you are going to focus on? Let me tell you. Basically, this lecture is all about what are the foundations or the fundamental principles of Islamic ethics, social and moral responsibilities. So here we are talking about a few of them. One, two, three, 4, and 5. There are 5 essential characteristics of, excuse me, essential characteristics of Islamic ethics or Islamic social and moral responsibility. Now, among them, I'm not going to ask you to go over all of them, but unity is about wahda, and free will is about having the choice to do something right or wrong. Responsibility is your responsibility, accountability, mas'uliyah, sense of responsibility. So this one, and equilibrium, which is keeping a balance, not equality, keeping a balance, wasatiyah that you say, is another aspect of essential character. So if I asked you, is responsibility an essential characteristic? You are going to say yes, something like this. And similarly for equilibrium, yes, the same answer. What are the effects of equilibrium? That it creates balance in the society. People are given their due share in everything. There is justice, there is adala. Equilibrium is not al-musawat, it is more about al-adala. So, as I said, and then you have benevolence, which is, rahma, ra'fa, consideration for others. So there is nothing complicated about it. So from the slide 5 till 8, you can just easily go over them, and you will recognize what is being said here. There is nothing to focus on. All right. Excuse me. Okay. Now I'm going to skip to lecture 4. All right. So in lecture 4, which is about the problem of nature versus nurture, it's basically which one is more important. Is it your fitra or is it your tarbiyah? So this is the whole concept of this lecture. In this lecture, you have to understand two things. So let me just go over. Sorry. Okay. Basically, in this lecture, you just have to understand not two things, just one thing, which is that I mean there are two things, but I would like to combine them and put together so it becomes like one topic that you will be concerned about. You don't have to worry about all these details and all these different quotations and all other tafasil. Basically, you just have to understand one thing which combines two points. One is the first thing that you have to understand is that there are two aspects of one's disposition. Disposition, your tabi'ah, how you act, how you behave, your behavior. So there are some people who say that whatever you do is because of your nature. And there are some people, they say whatever you do is because of what you learn when you come to the world. So this is nurture. Nature, fitra, nurture, tarbiyah, your what you acquire. Now the Islamic viewpoint is that, which is the second point, but now I'm combining the two. So the Islamic point of view is that both are important. There are few things that you are born with. There is fitra. You are not just a clean slated personality who have come to this world. You have inherited some value systems already. Yani from the Muslim point of view, Allah has already embedded in you some values. Now, in the world, either those values are going to become prominent, they are going to come to the fore, they will become more activated, or they will die down, they will fade out because of your surrounding, your nurture, your tarbiyah. So basically, you see, uh, the general viewpoint is that there are either influences of your nature on you or the influence of your nurture. According to the Muslim viewpoint, the two are together. We are born with some qualities. However, our surrounding, our tarbiyah, our mahaul, and our, whatever is around us will either add more strength to those values, or these things will affect what we are born with. So let's say I am born with the idea of Tawheed. According to the Muslim viewpoint, Alastu bi Rabbikum, Allah asked me, and I said, yes, Bala. But then I was born in a surrounding where I did not have any opportunity, especially as a child. I'm talking about as a child, I did not have any opportunity to learn about Tawheed. Now, when I am old, of course, I will need to reflect and I might have to ask some of the fundamental questions. But as a child, as a teenager, in my early age, even if I were away from Tawheed, um, I would say from the Islamic viewpoint that Tawheed was embedded in me, but my surroundings, my tarbiyah, my parents, uh, instead of adding strength to that value of Tawheed, they, uh, they contributed to its fading out, its decline. You see, this is the kind of discussion you have to understand. So once again, in this lecture, you don't have to go to a specific slide. Just understand that nature and nurture, there are two things, fitra and tarbiyah. Some people say nature is important because this is what happens to you throughout your life. Everything is stored in your DNA, your genes. You are just acting accordingly. Some people say no, everybody comes out, completely blank, and then the world teaches him or her. Islam combines the two, and it says there are few aspects, many values that you are born with, but your world affects those values in a negative or positive way. Okay, so this is your lecture 4. And now come to lecture 5. Right, fine, it's open now. Lecture 5, you just have to, I'm once again going to be very specific and selective here. Okay, so although it's a very long lecture with too many details, you don't have to worry about all these details. Just follow the most important bits that I'm going to be referring you to. Now, uh, in lecture, in sorry, the slide two, you just have to understand one thing. In fact, for all these, from the beginning and until lecture four or five, basically, you just have to understand one thing without worrying about all the details. Let's include 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. Okay, so from the beginning till 9, you just have to understand one thing without worrying about all the slides. That one thing is that there is a relationship between Islamic law and ethics or morality. Just this point. What is that relationship? It is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the laws that we call Islamic law, and these Islamic laws regulate our life in different aspects, and behind every rule or hukm or law, there is some ethical or moral consideration. This is the only thing you have to understand, that there is a strong relationship between Islamic law, ethics, and morality. So this is the topic which is covered from slide 1 to slide 9. Now, whether you go over them quickly or you don't, you know what is the important point mentioned here. Okay. Now, these you can, you can ignore. All these you can ignore except from here. So you, instead of going through all the details, lecture 1 and what are the maqasid al-sharia? There are 5 maqasid al-sharia. So instead of going over all these, you just look at all of them in one place, and I think that is mentioned here. Sorry. Okay, this slide 9 is important for you to understand what are the things that are included in Maqasid al-Sharia. So until now, I've told you that in this lecture, lecture 5, you have to understand, the first thing you have to understand, that Islamic law and ethics and morality are connected. There is a relationship. Point number 2 that you have to understand in this lecture, uh, what are maqasid al-sharia? Maqasid al-sharia, objectives of Islamic law. Maqasid, objectives. So objectives in what sense? As I said, because Islamic laws and ethics and morality are connected. So behind every law, there is some hikmah, some wisdom, there is an objective, there is hadaf. What are these ahdaf, these maqasid? There are uh, there are many other categorizations, but you have to ignore all of them. Just remember that there are 5 essential ضروريات, 5 essential maqasid. What are these? Protection of faith, protection of life, protection of ird or dignity, protection of intellect, aql, and protection of mal, property. So these are the 5 essential uh, aspects of Maqasid al-Sharia. And now the rest of the details you don't have to go over. You don't have to, go over and understand each other. You can even give examples from yourself. If somebody, if I asked you, for instance, what is protection of mal? So protection, hifz, mal is mal. So when your mal is at risk, you can do a lot of things to protect it, and this is the teaching of Islam, Maqasid al-Sharia. So, if Islam gives you a rule not to waste something, it is because there is hifzul mal as a maqsad, as a hadaf. Now, all these you can ignore. Al-Hajiyat and Tahsiniyat, and even these Islamic legal maxims. I will not be asking you any of these questions. Okay, so just to make your life as easy as possible, inshallah. Once again, the important bit from here, number 1 till 8 or 9, is the fact that Islamic laws and ethics and morality are connected, and these are the 5 essential maqasid al-sharia. The rest you can ignore. Fine. Now let's go to lecture 6. Okay, it's open now. Okay, so as you can see, lecture 6 in front of you. Now, in this one, you can only focus on a couple of slides. So I'm not going to, ask you many questions or many details from this one. So you can ignore all these, all these Sufis, Ash'ariya. Now, when it comes to Muslim philosophers, only you have to, uh, this is the important bit from lecture 9, from slide 9 till 17. But what is it that you are going to focus on? You see, I'm first selecting the slides for you and then further specifying what you need to focus on. So from 9 to 17, different Muslim philosophers, including Al-Ghazali and Ibn Miskawayh, are talking about how they view ethics and morality, what are ethics and morality, how do we develop them in ourselves, and so on and so forth. You just have to understand that Al-Ghazali, according to Al-Ghazali, uh, ethics and morality are things that exist in our heart, and in order to make them into actions we have to go through ta'awud. So ta'awud yani we have to make them as our ada. This is what Al-Ghazali says. Al-Ghazali says that ethics and morality are our soul related, qalb related feelings, and we can turn them into actions by making them, making ourselves do them again and again. And Ibn Miskawayh says that akhlaq is again is into our souls, and there is a discipline. We have to go through a training um, to inculcate those akhlaq. So basically, both Al-Ghazali and Ibn Miskawayh say the same thing, exactly the same thing. Their language is different. That's it. Both are saying the same thing. What are they saying? That akhlaq and morality, they are born into our soul, into our aql, mind, our ruh, whatever you call it. And then, like Al Ghazali, who says that you have to repeatedly do it, things, actions according to your akhlaq, which is ethics and morality, to become an ethical person. Ibn Muskawai says that you have to go through a training, tahdib, tahdibul akhlaq. You have to, give yourself that kind of full course, and then you will become a muhaddab, a person with akhlaq. So basically, the two are saying the same thing, but their style is slightly different. Another difference is this, which is on 16, slide 16, in which Ibn Miskawai also says that there are 4 essential aspects of acquiring ethics. So, how do we know that we are training ourselves into ethics? He says there are 4 cardinal virtues. Cardinal virtues, like 4 aspects, 4 sifat that we have to have in order to be ethical. What are these? Temperance, temperament, wisdom, and justice. You don't have to memorize all these. Temperance is to have the right balance in between what I want and what I need. So what I want, what is the right time, when do I have to get what I want? So having a balance basically in your desires is called temperance. Temperament is to find a balance between your spiritual side and your human side. Like for instance, I need pleasure. Maybe I get pleasure in doing drugs, but my ruh tells me that this is something which will corrupt me. So I shouldn't, lose my aql. I shouldn't go after the drugs. Although my physical being will benefit, will be relaxed, but my ruh will feel frustrated. So this is temperament. Wisdom is making sure that um, you are acquiring knowledge and you are acting accordingly. So knowledge and aql and intellect are wisdom. Justice, that you find balance in everything. So it is mostly, the cardinal virtues are mostly about balance and aql. These are the two aspects. But overall, you should just know that Ibn Miskawayh talked about these four aspects, cardinal virtues, and these are the cardinal virtues. So once again, I told you what is important in this lecture. From uh, from slide 9 till 17, you have two things to work on. One is that Al-Ghazali says ethics and morality are parts of our soul, and we have to do our actions repeatedly in the light of these two. Ibn Miskawai also says that the ethics and morality are born into our soul, and we have to do our tasqif and tahdib. We have to do a training. So both of them say the same thing, just in different style. And the second thing you have to understand is that Ibn Miskawai goes into further details and talks about four essential sifat that one should have in order to become ethical. Fine. This is your lecture 6. The other details you can ignore. You don't have to worry about them. And from lecture 7. Okay, from lecture 7, although there isn't going to be any specific question from lecture 7, you should be relaxed. So number 7 is also not specifically covered. You just have to understand one thing from lecture 7, that when we say akhlaq or Islamic ethics, so Islamic ethics, just like akhlaq, combines between individual and social. That's it. So whatever Islam gives you in the name of ethics, it is by default social ethics. So when Islam says, for instance, zina is bad, alcohol is bad, Islam is talking about individuals as well as the whole society. So this is the only point you have to know from this lecture. All the rest you can ignore. Fine. So this is why I did not share with you lecture 7. Because there is no specific question coming from this one. Now let's go to lecture 15. Okay. Now lecture 15, all these general things you can ignore. You can just uh, you know pass by without spending too much time on these. Uh, I mean, because there is no specific question coming from these slides in the beginning. So I'm going to give you the most important bits. Uh, And I will not be giving you any Quranic verse or anything, because I know in the midterm exam some of you got confused. So let me share the lecture with you. Okay, so as I said in lecture 15, which is mistakenly written as 17, so these early slides are not specifically important. You can just go over them, but without spending any time, because you don't have to answer any specific questions from here. I will also not be giving you any Quranic verse or anything from here. From here, in from beginning from 11, I am just going to say that please go over uh, some of these prohibited items. For instance, arbitrary fixing prices. So from let's say slide 11. Okay, one second. So from slide 11, things are important, but not all of them. I know this is too much information, so I will specify. Fine. So this may not be important. This is important, just like a general question: what is al-gharar? So al-gharar is cheating, is fraud, where things are uncertain, غير معلوم. I'm selling you something without telling you about these, without making it clear for you. So where there are uncertainties, where uncertain ownership is there, the quantity of the product is not mentioned, the quality of the product is not mentioned, and the whole business is based on just ideas, thoughts, just some speculations. So all of them are prohibited, and this is what is being talked about uh, in al-gharar. Now, as I told you that gharar is all about too much speculation, uncertainty, but little bit of that which has become part of your life is acceptable. So if you know that you are paying in advance to a restaurant for food, they haven't served you the food yet, but you are paying them in advance, because adatan, you know that Starbucks, when you pay them in advance, they will give you what they are saying. Very rarely, you may not like it, but it's not did not they cheated you. It's because you did not like something they put in your coffee. See? That is called gharar yasir. So al gharar in general is not allowed, prohibited, but gharar yasir, a little bit of possibility, can be acceptable. Now, hoarding is, ihtikar, where I'm a shopkeeper and I'm saving everything in my store so that when things are more expensive, I'm going to bring my product and sell. So this is easy to understand. Ihtikar. Also exploiting people's ignorance about the market. Somebody new doesn't know what iPhone Pro is sold for, what is the cost of it, and I give him the double price just because he's ignorant. This is exploit. I will not be giving you any of these Quranic verses or hadith, so you don't have to worry about in that sense. Similarly, consuming anyone's wages, your employees, you have some employees, and you shouldn't treat them unjustly without paying them on time. So you have to pay them on time. You don't use their income. And najash is trickery, as I told you that you while teaching you that a najash is that kind of a trick that you play to raise the price of your product. So you are selling something for 5 riyals, and then you indicated, you gave a hint to your friend to come to you as a customer and start saying that, oh, 5 riyals is too less, I will give you 10 riyals, just to show other buyers, other potential customers that, oh, this is a very costly stuff being sold for a cheap price, 5 riyals. So they are ready to come and pay 5 riyals without even haggling, without thinking about, just because you played this drama in front of them. So this and many other types of trickeries, uh, this is najash. Fine. So najash, you just have to understand the term. The term is trickery, and the example could be any trick that you play. For instance, if something is not, my mango that I'm selling is not ripe, but I polished it to make it look like something coming right from the tree. Again, this is trickery. So anything to deceive by playing a drama just to cheat people is najash. Stolen goods, as you know, stealing things is already haram, but if you are using stolen goods to buy or sell, you are doing something uh, impermissible. And naqsul mikyal, so you don't give what you promise. You give little, so you are selling 2 kgs of something, but in reality you are only weighing 1.5 kgs. Okay, so you don't have to go over the rest. As I said, you can focus from lecture 12 to 20, but not the details. As I said, just the main points that I've already described for you. Okay, so this is your lecture 15. And now the last lecture, lecture 16. Okay, in lecture 16, there are only two things very important, or let's say 2 to 3 things. It's a short lecture anyway. So, one thing important is the definition. What is corporate social responsibility? It is also known as CSR. So, the short form is quite popular, CSR, which is corporate social responsibility. This is the first thing which is important. Then you should understand what does it do? What is social responsibility of corporates? So they do things in order to make others' lives better, the society. They are not just making money for themselves, although making money is important for them. They are not just about making money. So you don't have to spend too much time on, you don't even have to memorize these things. 1, 2, 3. Let me share the lecture with you just in case. All right, so as I said, the first thing you have to understand is the definition. Corporate social responsibility, it's CSR, is about not just making money, is that corporates or businesses, they take care of the society at large. You don't have to memorize these points, by the way. Um, I've told you the definition already. The CSR is that businesses, they do things not just for themselves but for the society also. And there are some details about corporate social responsibility. For instance, that corporate social responsibility is for any business, small or big. So don't care about the size of your business. You just do it, because it is kind of essential now to talk about CSR or corporate social responsibility. You don't have to worry about these. You don't have to learn about these different types of corporate social responsibility or CSR, or even this one, this slide. You just have to understand uh, two things, as I said, which I'm going to specify for you. Uh, 1 second. So from slide uh, 12 till the end, you can ignore anyway from 12 to 20, because it only says one thing, which is that corporate social responsibility is important in the Islamic point of view. Of course, it is important, uh, and you have to understand that Islam is all about, sharing profits, caring about others. But I'm not going to specifically ask you anything about the connection between Islam and CSR, because Islamic ethics are about CSR. Okay, so from 12 to 20 you can ignore. Now these, for instance, these are some important points, like CSR initiatives. What are the initiatives of CSR? What do they do basically? So they focus on the market, they focus on the product, they focus on the employees, and they focus on the society, and they focus on the environment. So when you have all these, you can understand that this is CSR. A company is concerned about their society. Similarly, some people have misconception about CSR, that small businesses cannot be socially responsible, and some people think it is too complicated. Some people think it is too expensive. Like, you can only care for the society if you have too much money to spend. Like, you want to build a school. No, you can even feed two poor people. That's also corporate social responsibility. Some people think it is market gimmick. It is just a lie. People do it for publicity. No, it's not always the case. There are many businesses that do it genuinely. And some people think it is a separate corporate, like you have to establish a new company to do it. You can't do it in your own company. Like, you own a restaurant, you think that CSR, you can't do it. No, you can still do it. If you worry about your environment, if you take care of the hygiene, and if you have something to offer to the poor, whatever, these are all CSR things. So I would say that focus from 7 till 11. Just go over these in the light of what I have just explained. Not all these minute details, not memorizing anything, just as I've said. So from 7 till 11, you go over the slides. And apart from that, just understand the definition, which is given in slide 2, and that's it. Slide 2 and slide 4. Without memorizing, just the definition, keep in mind. Okay, now we are done from the lectures. Let me just do one more thing very quickly with you, because there will be some